going to tackle a job that has been on my mind for a while on the Polo. It's nothing too major, hopefully, just a service item. When I bought the car, the discs had quite what I felt as being quite a big lip. I don't know if you can see, quite it's quite a ridge on the edge of that disc, and it's the same both sides. So I think new discs and pads are probably in order. I'm going to first of all just lift each side, get the wheels off, and have a look, just to satisfy myself that it's definitely something that needs to be done. I've got my new discs and pads, gone for some Bosch parts. The pads have a I believe they have a brake wear indicator on this car, and sure enough there is a little plug on just one side, so just one of those pads has the wiring on. I've not seen that, or I've not fitted that before, so, or pads with that warning indicator wiring, but I presume you just unplug the old one and plug the new one in. But it's an opportunity also, I think, to do some cleaning while the wheel's off, and maybe even a bit of my favourite stuff, which is the wax oil. We could probably find somewhere to daub a bit of that around as well. But anyway, I'll show you a bit around the process, and we'll get to that shortly, the next stage, which is probably lifting the car. Okay, so I've just loosened off the wheel nuts with a number 17 socket and torque wrench. I haven't got 3 hands, so I can't show you how I did that live, but take my word for it, they are slightly loosened while the car is still on the drive. And I've arranged the jack. I'm using the one that came with the car, 90-degree angle, and we'll get ready to pop an axle stand just under the sill. We'll see if I can find somewhere better to place it underneath, I will, but it's got to be something structural and strong enough to take the weight of the car. So yeah, I'll get those wheel nuts fully off once the car is lifted and secured, and then we can take the wheel off. Right, changed my mind. So I was going to just use the jack that came with the car, but actually I'm using that as a sort of backup reserve because I wanted to use a trolley jack, and I've actually decided to get both sides up in the air. So I've got my axle stand positioned as so, and then by carefully raising the car here and getting this positioned in an equivalent situation, a sort of same height as we went up and as we came down, just released this one slightly, backed this off a few turns as the car came down, and it's now resting, I think, nicely on a bit of wood, just on that piece of, I think it's a piece of the suspension, some sort of mount there anyway, but I think that's seems as good a place as any to put the axle stands. And then if I get stuck with anything, at least the car's properly up in the air on axle stands, and it should be fairly secure. So going to use that same method to lift this side, and hopefully the front of the car will then be up in the air. Usually getting the car up in the air is harder than getting it down again. I have got a huge 3-ton trolley jack, but it's buried, so I can't really be bothered to get that out. I think because the car's not that big, we should be okay just using these tools. I think the only thing I missed out on this was getting the cap off the wheel. You see, it should have well, it usually has one of those little Volkswagen caps. I just prized those off with a little flathead screwdriver. There's a hole you can get the screwdriver in and carefully just prise it up. Right, another update in a bit. Whew, there we go. Right, remembered to loosen off the nuts on this side before I lifted the car. But I'm going to leave the jacks in place just for extra on braces. So the axle stands both in place, and I think that's fairly, yeah, should be stable enough. Right, let's get the wheels off and have a look at these discs and brake pads, see what state the old ones are in. I think they're going to need doing because they do feel pitted and you can hear it as it turns. So yeah, we'll have a look. Okay, so wheels are off. Actually decided, changed my mind again, move that jack to this side just for a bit of extra belt and braces, and we'll have the trolley this side. So there we go, the wheels are off. These brake pipes look quite new actually, looking quite good nick. I wonder if they've been done recently. I reckon that's our brake pad wear sensor, so it must be on passenger side. You see what I mean about that wear on that disc. That lip there is quite significant. Having said that, the pads have got loads of life in them by the looks of things. I say loads, they look quite good to me. So I wonder if someone, instead of doing the discs and pads, just did the pads at a last service, which presumably was quite a while ago, because everything does look like it's yeah, in need of a bit of love. Anyway, I'm going to replace the pads and the discs just because I want them to know that they've been done together. Right, before I do that, while the wheels are off, I'm going to give them a clean, so I'll go and do that. Okay, so that's the wheels cleaned. While I'm cleaning stuff, I've actually got some of this spray, it's brake cleaner, and I've just given it a little bit of a spray around the clips and things I'm going to be taking apart. We'll stick to this side, I think, because it's the same process the other side, albeit the other side has that pad sensor. These pads they look pretty good, don't they? But like I say, I reckon those discs, they just look pretty worn to me and a bit manky. So yeah, we'll replace them. So next thing, I've just turned the wheel. You might notice, just put the ignition key in. Obviously didn't start it, but just to release the steering lock, turned the wheel, and you'll notice there's a little cap pointing to it just there. So I'm going to prise that off just to help it get started. I used a screwdriver. Yeah, I don't know if I can get that in focus. There we go. You probably know how to prise one thing away from another. It's not rocket science, is it? It's just a little plug, look. Quite nice. Got the VW logo on it. Pop noodle pop, just to keep our bits and pieces. Got another one over there with the wheel nuts in. And behind that, there should be, I don't know what number it is yet, but there will be something we need to get a socket on, I believe. Maybe if I put the camera behind there. Turn the light on. Can you see that? I don't know if that's actually showing anything useful, but it's an angle that I can't really get my head into that position very easily. Again, brake pipes this side look pretty good. Give it a little bit of a clean up, just round and about while I've got the wheel off, but we'll stick to the job at hand initially. Right, so I'm going to try and get this caliper released, and I think that's our next step. And then after that, we'll be just taking the fixings off. That one I think is just a screwdriver. We'll get that little retaining screw out. Right, I'll crack on, do another update when I've got something interesting to tell you. Okay, I just cleaned those dust caps up because I'm like that. So what we need to get this and this released, sorry that probably wasn't a very useful shot, but I showed you it a second ago, is I believe it's a Torx 45, so I've got a little Torx set here. Fortunately there is a 45, there it is, I've just put it on my driver. So T45 bit, if you don't have one you'll need one before you tackle this job on your 9N Polo. So yeah, I've just sprayed a little bit of WD-40. Well, I did that a few minutes ago actually, just to help free it up if it's stuck. We'll find out shortly. Okay, here's a useful part in the proceedings to know about. So I've undone these. They don't seem to come all the way out, but they're backed off just enough so that the caliper is free. So that's one at the top and that one at the bottom. And you can see the brake piston. There's that bit there, which pushes on the pad. And this, so it's quite tricky when you need to basically remove this. That needs to come off, and I'm going to just hook it up. I've just got a little bit of old wire coat hanger to carefully hang that on, so it's not all the weight's not on the pipe, because that could damage it. I suppose you could just put a box or something and rest it on that, would work as well. But anyway, to get this off, that doesn't want to come over at the minute. The lip, that worn bit of disc, it doesn't want to withdraw. So I've got my long screwdriver, and I'm just going to very carefully just get that in and just lever the piston back a little, not too hard, because we don't want to damage it. And that should allow us to withdraw that caliper. Okay, well the wire wasn't strong enough as it happens, so I've just resorted to tying the caliper so it's not putting excess pressure on that pipe. But you see it's withdrawn okay. So we just need to then get the disc off, so we undo that. We left that on just so that disc wasn't going to risk coming off with the caliper. I don't know if it would have done, but I'll take that off. And then we'll take the pads out, put the new ones in, get the new disc on there, and probably have a bit of a clean up. Right, I've got the new pads in place. Now that piston might need to be pushed back slightly, and there is a special tool for that which I don't have, so I've just very carefully, with a couple of G-clamps and that new pad not in place, I've just tried to push the piston back in, and I've just put it in a couple of millimeters, which I think is all it needs, because obviously these pads are quite thick and the new disc needs to be able to slot in. Don't know how I'm going to do this. This isn't how it will be orientated. Well, let's do it the way it will be orientated. I'm just having to hold my camera and do this at the same time. But and I haven't quite got it in place. Tell you what, let myself get myself organised, and we'll try that again. Right, I have just checked the gap, and it's fine. So let's get this on. So I've just put a nice generous amount of anti-seize, copperies on there. We'll get the new disc in place. We'll clean it just with a bit of the brake cleaner, just to make sure there's nothing nasty on it that shouldn't be there. And then we'll get all this back in place, and I'll show you what I mean about there just being enough room to get the disc in between those two new pads. Right, that's better, isn't it? Beautiful new disc on there. Something that's worth just noting, actually, I probably should have noticed this before. I think I've got lucky because I think they're around the right way, but there are two different types of clip. So this one was on the outside, and you can see the way that the clips go is sort of like that. If I compare that to the one on the other side, you see it's got its arms in a slightly different position. Call them arms, shall we? So that one, look, is let's just get some light on this. Put them side by side. You see those are up and round, whereas those are up and in. So we know which one was on the inside because it's the piston marking where the brake piston's pushing against it. So that one was sort of that side of the car, and this one therefore must have been like that. And when you compare that to the one that I've put on this side, it's correct. And if we look back in the box for the other side, one of them, the inside one, has the sensor on it, and that's the one that has the arms facing down. So that will fit inside the brake piston, and this will be the outer, the other side. So I think we're good. So yeah, put some. I've actually done a little bit of wax oiling in and around, just behind where the disc sits. There's still a bit more to do. I started this job a bit late in the day, so I think we'll probably do the other side and maybe a bit more wax oiling tomorrow. But just to clarify, when you slot this caliper in, the orientation has to be like this. So don't know if you can see. Where was it? Actually, down the bottom, this was an easier bit to see. You see this bit where my finger is? Make sure that is slotted in as such. And the bottom of the new brake pads, the other side of it, it's the same sort of idea at the top. And then once that's lined up, it should mean that you can do up the two Torx 45 bolts. I've just done them hand tight with a driver. Haven't used a torque wrench. So yeah, there's our new disc. Seems to fit. Yep, that's done back up as well. The little retaining screw. Put a little bit of copperies / anti-seize on that. So I'll carry on doing a little bit more cleaning, get the wheel on, and then we'll tackle the other side probably tomorrow. Okay, so we're moving on to the other side of the car, and just while I've got it rigged up like this, that's the arrangement I'm using just to give some support to this now loose brake caliper. And there's the brake pad on the passenger side of the car, UK spec Polo 9N, 2003 model year, I think it is. And the inner brake pad has this wear sensor. And the other end of it is just here. So we'll just unplug that. These don't look too bad at all, do they? I reckon someone's put these new pads on but not done the discs. The disc that came off this side was just as worn as the other side. I don't think there's an awful lot left on there. I might be wrong, but I just want the peace of mind of knowing that the discs and pads have been done together. So again, a bit more clean up once we've got the new disc and new pads in. And Actually, one thing I didn't mention yesterday, and I noticed it actually up here in the brake fluid reservoir. Remember I compressed the piston the other side just to get the new pad on, and when I looked, the fluid level in here had gone right to the top. Now, I don't know, I think the car is on a slight slant, which is going to make this a little tricky, but I don't want that overflowing. So what I thought I could do, and I did do actually just before I got the passenger side caliper, press the piston in. I used my screwdriver to do it. I've got the G-clamp ready if I need to do it like I had to do this side. But there's a little drainage nipple on here, number 11 spanner or socket you get on the nut, and I just carefully took the little cap off, which is there, and I just turned to loosen that nut, put a container under, and just caught a few drops. Not much, but I just took a little bit of brake fluid out. That detritus in the fluid wasn't in the brake system as far as I'm aware. That just picked up some little flakes of corrosion which ended up in the pot, so don't worry, I think my brake fluid is clear and clean that's in the car, but just dropping a little bit out of it, just dripping a little bit out, is probably not a bad idea, and I shall do the same I think this side. So I just dislodged that, which I didn't mean to do, holding a camera and trying to work on this. Oh, there we go, that's the importance of the string there, just to stop that falling down. So anyway, right, I'll crack on, drain a bit more fluid out of the out of this side, a few drops, not much. I have got some .4 to put back in if I need to top it up, but I don't really want to mix. But hopefully I've pushed that piston back enough just with the screwdriver, just when I wiggled it off now. Anyway, right, I'll stop talking and get on. Okay, just hopefully a little bit of useful information on how to remove this plastic connector without damaging it. You see I've slid a screwdriver in underneath at this angle, and there's a little, I don't know if you'll actually see it, should we try with the torch? There's a little tab, I don't know if you can see that. If I just get that screwdriver in, carefully wiggle, it's moving a little tab, and that's the tab you just need to release. Effectively, I'll look at the new unit, it sits just sort of under there in that gap. So hopefully that will save you a little bit of trouble in knowing how to do that. Well, I don't think we've done this a moment too soon, it's just started raining. Done a bit more wax oiling, tidying, and both sides look good. I think we've got our new discs and pads on as far as I can tell. Next thing is to get the wheels back on and give it a test, and then all being well, job done. Right, been out to just test the car, make sure the brakes work, make sure it stops, and it did. So yeah, nice new discs and pads fitted, all seems good. Pop the centre cover back, and also I just checked one more time that the nuts were nice and tight, so put that one on as well. Job done.